Hello everyone, and welcome to the Top 5 Power Rangers series. Before we get started, I just want to say these are what I have always thought what was the best seasons. Yours may be different, and that's okay. I will go over which 5 seasons were the best and why. So let's get started. Number 5. Dino Thunder. There are many reasons why I picked this one. First being the return of Tommy Oliver. Any story that involves him is sure to be a good one. Plus it tells the story about what happened to him after Turbo and how he was able to get the Dino Gems to create new Power Rangers. In this season, we're taken on a journey on how he had no powers to having the Black Dino powers. The one big thing that I loved about Tommy being there was that they had a throwback to when he was a Power Ranger and later on when he was in a coma fighting his past Ranger forms. Then there was all the secret keeping throughout the season. From the classic and favorite, keep your identity a secret. No one may know you're a Power Ranger. To who Mesogog and Trent really were. To Tommy's secrets about his past. And Principal Randall and Zeltrak's secrets. Also the suits were really cool looking, especially the White Dino Ranger. When Trent was first able to turn into the White Ranger and fought the Rangers, he was a force to be reckoned with. But I also loved his evil voice. It fit very well.
Don't come any closer. You'll force me to do something I don't want to do.
At first he wasn't on any side but his own. He even at one point betrayed both sides. But after a machine of Mesogogs broke the evil curse of the White Dino Gem, Trent then joined up with the Power Rangers. Another thing was the side powers they had. It really came useful for them when they weren't morphed. Connor's super speed made it easy for him to get around enemies. Ethan's superhuman strength and his ability to make his skin impenetrable. Kira's scream could knock anyone to the ground. Tommy can go invisible and Trent can blend in with the surrounding environment. And finally, there was the theme song. Not my favorite theme out of all the seasons, but it did have a great beat and it does get you pumped when the Rangers defeated an enemy. Number 4. Mystic Force. I actually did watch this when it first came out and started to really like it. One of the things I fell in love with quickly was the songs played throughout the season. The intro had a really nice vibe to it and the graphics in the intro looked really beautiful. Even with the first battle when Nick comes in for the save and morphs. I loved the song so much when he was fighting the Hideax and Korag, then I had to listen to it over and over. Speaking of Korag, he was my most favorite villain of the season. To me, he was more threatening than Mordecon and Imperius. He could even call on a Zord to fight the Rangers, Katastros and the Centaurus Wolf Megazord. He was so powerful that he was able to defeat the White Mystic Ranger and take her snow staff. But just like with most characters in Power Rangers, he too held a secret as well as Nick and Adana. Even the other characters were fun to watch. Too much to go into, but Phineas, Claire, Toby, Necroli, Daggeron, Genji, and Lily all played their roles really well. Then there were the costumes. It was cool looking to see their own symbols on the helmets, their magic staffs hanging from their belts, and the capes they were wearing. The only time in history to have them. And finally the Zords. Using their Morphers, they called upon their Zords and were able to transform themselves into that Zord. Then when forming the Titan Megazord, they were able to use different spells and codes and overpower many of the enemies. Number 3. Beast Morphers. I chose this season for a few reasons. First being, how they made the morphing grid really important. Yes, the lore around any Power Rangers season is the morphing grid, but here with the help of Nate Silva, they were able to tap into the grid to get Morph-X, which allowed them to gain keys to morph, vehicles, weapons, and Zords. They even named the base grid Battle Force Headquarters. The morphing grid was even able to bring back a legendary Power Ranger to help fight. But with the good, comes the bad, as Evox was able to make evil avatars of Blaze and Roxy, and their real bodies were put into a coma. They were linked to the morphing grid so they couldn't be awoken unless the evil avatars were destroyed. Another bad was, in order for Evox to escape the cyber dimension, Blaze and Roxy had to steal a lot of Morphex to free him. Which he eventually was. And while I'm talking about Evox, his backstory was very well planned. In wrestling, they use this phrase called long-term booking, which means they take a story and make it last for many months to many years. And that's what they did to Evox. If you have ever watched RPM and knew who Venjix was, then you've seen the ending of that season. The RPM Rangers were able to defeat Venjix and save the world. Or did they? Come to find out at the end of the last episode, you see a case with the Morphers in it and one Morpher that was blinking red before Dr. K closed it. Apparently, it was Venjix trapped in the Morpher. Years later when Nate was a child, he was doing some experiments to revive old Morphers with Morphex and snake DNA. All of the Morphers failed except for the cell shift Morpher, and it brought Venjix back to life as Evox. Perfect twist. And the last thing I loved about Beast Morphers was the plot about bringing back old villains. With the help of Ryjack, his reanimizer, old relics that belonged to past villains, and compliance collars, he was able to rebuild anyone into a robot clone. We seen Putties, Goldar, Sledge, and Snide, which was a great throwback. Number 2.
Alright, let's rock it.
Power Rangers in Space. When first seeing In Space, I wasn't immediately sold on it because it didn't have the original cast. But years later, after watching it, I saw the story behind it. After Divatox blew up the command center, the Rangers learned that their old mentor Zordon had been captured by a villain named Dark Spectre. The Rangers had no choice but to head off into space where they meet Andros, and had to save Zordon. So the story was perfect for what was supposed to be the ending of Power Rangers. The main villain Astronema was very cool looking and was a big threat to deal with. However, my favorite villain was Ecliptor. He was very strong and hard to beat. He looked at Astronema like a daughter and was very loyal to her.
Oh, my precious princess, you're like a daughter to me.
His armor was very great as well. The black with the green lines running across looked good on him. Then the Psycho Rangers. We've seen evil Power Rangers before, but these guys were, I guess, psycho. They were so strong that the only way to defeat them was to trap them into cards, and as you see later in Lost Galaxy, not even that was enough to hold them. I did like the Space Rangers outfits and the Astro Megazord. I loved how they used a space shuttle to make the Megazord. The season also saw some pretty great team-ups. From Adam Park, the Mighty Morphin Black Ranger, to Justin Stewart, the Blue Turbo Ranger, and even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, that TMNT was a bad show, but I had never thought I'd see Turtles and Power Rangers working together. And lastly, 2 things that made this season great. First is Bulk and Skull's shining moment. Astronema was going to destroy Earth if the Rangers didn't show up. At first they didn't, and she was about to attack everyone until Bulk and Skull stepped in and claimed that they were the Rangers. Not even Astronema believed it. But to see them stand up to the villains after being scared of them for so long was a tearful moment. There was a time in Mighty Morphin where Bulk and Skull stood up to a villain so they could save the Rangers, but this time they were standing up to an army to help the people of Angel Grove. Then in the end, seeing them stand by the Rangers and help fight was just perfect. And 2. Seeing every villain in the galaxy either destroyed or turned into some good form was a way to end the season. The only bad part though was having to say goodbye to Zordon. After Andros had no choice but to destroy his tube and unleash the Z-Wave. Number 1. Power Rangers Zeo. Zeo had a lot of special moments in it. Throughout the 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin, they were afraid to change the costumes because fans might not like it. Then in 1996, they took the risk and pulled the trigger, and it was a risk well paid off. Power Rangers Zeo was so well liked that fans still remembered that season to this day. At the time, it was still a hard moment hearing Zordon say, "The Power Rangers as you have known them is gone forever," and it was sad. But moving on. They had one of the best costumes designs. The helmets had their own symbols on them. My favorite was the star-shaped one on Tommy's helmet. Then the gold plates across their necks was amazing. I also loved the new Zords they had. They kept the theme going with Tommy having a bird Zord. It wasn't as cool as the Falcon Zord, but it did its job. But the Zords were strong enough to take down any enemy in its path. But I guess that has to do with the Zeo crystals, as they are very powerful and get stronger over time. Then we have the Machine Empire. These villains were so powerful that they made Lord Zed and Rita retreat. No villain or hero could stand up to them until they got to the Zeo Rangers, and even then the Power Rangers struggled at first. But it also led to one of the best moments of Zeo. Watching the Power Rangers defeat a main villain for the first time. King Mondo. But like I said, the Machine Empire was very powerful, as King Mondo was able to come back.
Again? You made this happen to Pop before?
Yes, dear, but he'll be back and stronger than ever.
Then the season had brought us a few surprises. One being the return of an old Ranger, Jason Scott, to become the new Gold Ranger. It was great to see him back. I have always loved Jason. One of the best Red Rangers of all time, but I was really looking forward to seeing Billy become the Gold Ranger. But per storyline, Billy couldn't get the Gold Ranger powers because of that aging device they used back in Alien Rangers. And not only did the powers reject Billy, but it made him age at a rapid pace, which he was forced to go to Aquitar for special treatment, and that was the last time he was seen in Power Rangers until Once and Always. And again, there's that long-term storytelling that came into play. During the Alien Rangers saga where they had to search for the Zeo crystals and Tommy went looking for his, he came across a guy named True of Heart. Tommy was then sent to find the Zeo crystal with True, and, when they found it, he was not only given the Zeo crystal but a half of an arrowhead as well, and the other half he'll find over time. Then in the middle of the Zeo season, Tommy found the other half of the arrowhead that was held by his brother. With the arrowhead whole again, it held evil, powerful, spirits that was imprisoned by a warrior, and whoever holds it, controls the spirits. So King Mondo kidnaps his brother and demands Tommy to make a trade, his brother for the arrowhead. After that, Mondo lied and took the arrowhead and kept Tommy's brother. But after Mondo found the stone to put the arrow in, Tommy came in time and took it back. One more thing to add, the theme song was amazing. I didn't think they would come up with another great theme after Mighty Morphin, but they did. That's the top 5 Power Rangers series. What were your favorite Power Rangers series? Let me know in the comments. Remember, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, turn on the bell, and check the description for more information. As always, may the power protect you, and see you for the next adventure.